take a minute next time you have a difficult conversation. And if you, like me, previously would want to run from it and not deal with it and rather let the problem go on than simply have the conversation, because that's real grown up and mature. If you would rather do that, I encourage you to take this journey with me in that let's learn to do better together. Sometimes driving is the best place for me to have a minute to record a thought, but I assure you that I will keep my eyes on the road and focus on what I'm doing while I share with you a story or two. My sister got very, very sick. She lives about 300 miles away from me, and because of her illness and some other things she had going on in her life, I decided to pop over there, make sure she was doing okay and that kind of thing. On the way over, I learned that a family member of hers on the other side was also going through a very, very difficult medical situation, and that those people would be visiting that night as well. So I get there and I check on my sister and everything, of course, and we're all sitting in this living room. And of course, I'm on the inside, so I'm gonna have to, if I want to flee this room, just so we're clear, I'm gonna have to walk right in between everybody and do it. I'm not sitting on an edge where I can casually slip out of the room. Nope, that's not at all what was happening. I'm right in the middle. And one of the visitors looks at my sister's husband and says, "Where's Lacey?" Let me pause and tell you who Lacey was. Lacey was their much adored little tiny dog, and she regrettably had passed away several months earlier. And apparently word had never gotten to that particular person in that side of the family. We all knew every painful step. We all shed tears with her, like this was a horrible experience for them at the time. Very rough time. And so there she is, mic drop, "Where's Lacey?" I didn't know what to do. I was like, please, can somebody evaporate me from this room? Then that ensued into people sharing their unfortunate dog passing story. It was a whole horrible thing. I tell you that story to bring you into this. I often feel like I want to either move away from or fumble around with difficult conversations. And difficult conversations is one thing that I am really trying to lean into and learn more about. I've definitely had some things happen lately in all different aspects of my life and relationships that, you think to yourself, gosh, I should talk to this person about that thing. But many of us don't. And I'm no different. I don't either. I tend to shy away from it. I think to myself, gosh, I wonder if this person realizes how that makes another person feel and these sorts of things. Or in the moment, I'm thinking, I wonder if that person realizes how that just made me feel. There's some members on my team right now that really there needs to be some difficult conversations for the greater good, for the growth and benefit of all. I was sort of raised in a career generation where these things were really avoided, or they were often handled very poorly, because I think we all know that previous generations might not have had all of the educational tools that exist now for helping leaders grow and develop. And that's really where I was raised from a career standpoint, as I was in those places where you were just called into an office, you were just told all the things you did wrong and sent on your way, right? So that's made me very, very nervous about sharing feedback and coaching with others, because I worry too much about what they'll think and how they'll feel. And while those things are certainly important, I think well-formed feedback and well thought out difficult conversations can be to the benefit of so many individuals. And most people want it. A lot of people want that feedback. They want to know how they can do better for their employer and each other. They want to know how they can learn and grow in their career. We're always going to run into those people that are completely opposite from these things I'm saying. I get it. On the other hand, there's a lot of people who would embrace these sorts of things and who would appreciate this feedback. And so the challenge becomes when you're in the middle of having, those thoughts about, gosh, I really need to talk to, Sally about this and that, and do the research. There's so many YouTube videos out there about how to frame these things. I just watched a couple. In fact, I'll drop them in the description to this video. While we have to be mindful of people's feelings, we also have to understand that being clear and concise is actually being kind. A friend of mine said to me one time, clarity is kindness. And I really want to lean into that myself, and I want you all to understand that. First of all, when you go into these conversations, please don't go in with 5,000 details and a whole bunch of explanation and feeling badness in your heart. Please go into these conversations, unlike me wanting to run from that room when that whole dog conversation spilled. Lean in, understand, listen, engage. When we have things in our team that really need to be brought up, by choosing not to bring them up simply because it will be hard, you just leave that festering. You just leave it to boil and get bigger. You dive in there, and so many times you're going to find that you come out in a better spot. That's really what I want you to understand. So some tips would be, don't be afraid of silence. Go in with more questions and understanding. And another great tip I heard was, don't open the conversation by things like, how's your day going? What's new with you? How's the family? These things are all giving the impression that this conversation is going to be casual and friendly, and then all of a sudden you're going to turn around and drop something big. Don't do that. You want to set a time. Hey, do you have a time in the next few days that would work for us to chat for maybe 30 minutes or so? When the conversation opens, provide the context of what this is going to be. So in context, you'll say something like, thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me today. Unfortunately, I need to have a difficult conversation with you. Identify what it is going in. I think it was Simon Sinek's talk on this that he said many things I really liked. But one of them was go in sort of, I guess I'll say with humility, meaning go in with, I'm not really sure how to do this, but your relationship means a lot to me. And I want to make sure I do my best to not only allow that to grow, but also to protect it. And so I have some things on my mind I want to talk to you about, and I'm a little bit nervous about doing it. So I'm just going to ask for your patience as I fumble through this. I'll outline for you the difference. So if you started a conversation, something like that, and then you went into the actual subject, looks a lot different than, yeah, Sally, I noticed that last week on that client file, you kind of jumped and barked at me a little bit when we were talking about it. And what was up with that? Those sorts of things. Not that you would do that. I'm exaggerating clearly. But my point is that be mindful of the framing going into the whole thing. Set your stage. Don't just blast in the door. You can set the stage by letting them know right away, this is going to be a difficult conversation. Letting them know that you're worried about that conversation. Be sure you put good listening ears on. Don't jump to fill space. All of these things can really help with an effective, difficult conversation. At the end, ask that person to share how they're feeling about things. Again, I'll put in the notes of the videos, a couple of the ones that I watched that I was really enjoying learning from. Take a minute next time you have a difficult conversation, and if you, like me, previously would want to run from it and not deal with it and rather let the problem go on than simply have the conversation, because that's real grown up and mature. If you would rather do that, I encourage you to take this journey with me in that let's learn to do better together. That's the path that I'm on. That's the mission that I'm on, is how can I do better? What am I going to do to help improve my skills when it comes to having difficult conversations and not be so nervous about even having them? I think in the end, your team will benefit and grow. And really, you might just find that they actually appreciate it and the relationship gets a lot better. So I just wanted to share that. Difficult conversations, let's jump into them. I'll share more as I learn it along the way. But there's my thoughts for today. Thanks so much for stopping by Agent's Edge.